In the booth with Big B, it is an honor, a privilege to have, if resilience was a person, it would be Miss MinniJean Brown-Trickey. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
I love that. I'm going to steal it.
Yes, please do.
That's beautiful.
Yes. If you don't know who Miss MinniJean Brown-Trickey is, she is one of the Little Rock Nine. And correct me if I'm wrong, 1957. I was wrong. Okay.
65 years ago.
65 years ago.
Yeah.
1957. There was no social media because we didn't get to see what other people were doing in their respective communities. You just did it with your friends and you went to Little Rock, or you went to Arkansas Central High.
Yeah, Central High School.
You went to Central High School. How did that feel?
But when it happened, the world saw it.
Yes, they did. That was the first time that
really interesting.
It is, and that's my question. This is the first time the world sees, oh, this is serious.
This is the
down
U.S.
South. This is the United States.
They've been lying to us.
This is the first time they see mobs standing in front of a school preventing you and your classmates from going.
Yes, the first time they've seen black children on television.
That's big, Miss MinniJean.
It's pretty amazing.
When they came to, what grade were you going to when you were going to Central High that year?
Oh, I was going to grade 11.
Okay.
What happened is they had a junior high school and well, you know, when the Brown decision came down, the Little Rock School, there had been one black high school and one white high school. So they quickly built another school in the west, which was to be a white one, and one far east, which was to be the black one. Okay. So I mean, it's structured segregation, right?
Oh.
You know how we do it.
Right.
Anyway, so the school board had a plan. Sorry.
You're fine.
So it came on the intercom. I mean, the NAACP had done an injunction to the school board to, after the Brown decision, to start thinking about desegregation. And they had presented a group of young people as plaintiffs, and then nothing really happened. And then after the school board actually came up with a plan, it came on the intercom at my high school. Anybody who lives in the Central District who would like to go, just sign this sheet. And I and my two best friends said, why not?
Oh, wow.
And then there's a whole period of vetting.
Yes.
Whatever. And the history says that about 70 to 100 kids lived in the district and signed up. And then administrators had these meetings and said, if you go, you can't participate in anything. You can't be in any clubs, you can't do sports, can't do band. And it appeared that it reduced the number, but later historians found out that they were only going to take 20. And then on the sort of morning of September 3rd, I think, there were 9 kids.
Wow.
Who showed up.
Wow. When we talk about Little Rock 9, we talk about you, Miss MinniJean, when we talk about history, period, I don't think you woke up that morning and said, I'm going to change the world.
No,
Did you wake up that morning and say, let me go to school?
It's going to be easy. It's 10 blocks. The black school that they built was really hard to get to.
Okay.
No bus went close by. It was inconvenient. And my friends, we said, we can walk to Central. It's right up the street. It's right in the center.
Right.
No, and I think that's that's kind of my message.
Okay.
You don't think about changing the world. Just take this little step
Major.
and see what happens. So,
That's amazing.
And I'm going to say this. People want to say courage, and I want to say we're not going to use that word because we don't want kids to think that there's something that they don't possess. Because I want young people to think.
Yes.
If I decide I can walk to school, that's good enough reason to go.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing because people feel sometimes that you got up and said, we're going to change the world today, but I'm just trying to go to school.
I'm just going to
and
go.
not having to walk, 40 blocks, 10 instead of 40.
That to be important, that we make decisions, and sometimes you learn something from those decisions.
Yes. Yes. So you go to school, you're in the 11th grade, many, and when I say if resilience was a person, I'm talking about
take that
in the
compliment.
first
That's the beauty.
the first week of school, resilience was a person. You're talking about the federal.
Well, let me just, so, my pastor came by and said, I'm going with her. Because the governor had surrounded the school with Arkansas National Guard.
Yes.
And my mother drove to see what she could see, and she said there was nothing you could see. And the governor said, units of the National Guard have been placed on the campus. Something about, he didn't say to oppose integration. He kind of left it vague. So we're not sure.
And so your pastor goes with you the first day?
Well, we didn't get a first day because what we did was go, and these guard were letting white kids in and stopping black kids. And then the mob is over there screaming hatred, violence. So we're between those two things. And we kind of left.
Yes.
And then it took almost 3 weeks to go back because there were all these injunctions by the school boards saying no, and injunctions by the NAACP, yes. And we ended up having to go to federal district court for a judge to say, no, it has to proceed. And the governor President Eisenhower had to negotiate with the governor to remove the guard, and he said he wouldn't. And I'm sure you have just like North Carolina. I mean,
yes.
Governors know how to behave badly.
Yes, ma'am, they do. Yes, ma'am, they do. All of this happens. Is there any time where you say, I just want to go to school?
What happened after the first day, at that first day when we're sort of there, I said, they're not stopping me.
Okay.
No, I'll try not to malign any group. But I mean, part of the Southern mythology is that white women are very fragile. Well, they were monsters. They were. I had never, So there were so many surprises for me that first day, watching people. I lived in the Jim Crow South, but the U.S. conditions you to think you live in the best place in the world, and that the enemy is the Soviets, and you're hiding. You've heard people talk about hiding under your desk.
Right.
I mean, I don't think radiation really cares.
Right. And the death's not going to stop that.
But that's the mythology. The enemy is always outside. So you're conditioned. So I see all this hate. I'd never been hated in my life. There was no violence in my life. So there's just a whole lot of learning on that day.
I got you.
About your country,
Yes.
about the people in your city. I mean, you know, there were rallies after the Brown decision. There's, you know, big signboards, impeach Earl Warren. I mean, the agitation was always there. But I, as a kid, thought that racism was old people. I couldn't imagine anybody my age.
Wow.
Because that's who you saw. You saw it in the churches. You saw in the rallies.
Right.
I just thought, that's who owned that.
You and your classmates changed the world.
It's kind of cool.
And you show the world what was really happening in the South, in Jim Crow South.
Hey, come on, forget South
The world.
goes to the
United
49th
States.
parallel.
Right. The world. You showed what was happening in the United States.
Yes.
And you go through school, you finish, and then...
I didn't actually finish.
Right. That's what I wanted to ask you. So what was that transition? You didn't finish, or did you go back to your...
I got expelled.
Yes.
I got expelled because I was attacked by 5 girls. And okay, you can imagine, they were so clever with their terror. And that particular day, these girls threw a purse, and I picked it up, and it had 6 combination locks in it. So it was meant. It wasn't like, it wasn't just to tease me, it was meant to hurt. And we got called words. We got called the N-word like about 1 trillion times. And why I don't approve of use of the word.
Right.
And so they threw the purse. The rule had been, at first, that they said, report incidents to the girls' vice principal. And when we did, they'd say, did a teacher see it? So we figured, okay, there's no reason. Teachers had blinders on, so they didn't see anything.
Right.
And so no teacher saw the purse come hurling to my head. The Arkansas National Guard, who was federalized to protect us, didn't see anything. And I said, leave me alone, white trash. And teacher heard that, and I got expelled for that.
Wow.
Now, my daughter just made T-shirts that said, because I said it, I was expelled because I was tall, beautiful, and proud.
Oof, yes.
And the social conditioning that they or people have now, they can't imagine that we think we're beautiful or see our value. And my mama put that in me.
I love that. And that's important. Self-love is important, and you knew who you were.
Yes.
When you walked in, no matter what school it was, you knew
Whoever
who you were.
they are.
Yes.
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 So I said I was expelled because I was tall, beautiful, and proud, and I would say that that's enough to, at a certain point, you've sort of, in this country then and now, there's a mythology that white people are superior intellectually and black people are inferior. And you walk in there and you say, I think maybe this is backward. I think this is upside down. And there must be something about my face because they knew that I felt that.
Yeah, she's on to something. We gotta make sure she's not here.
I don't know.
So
I drove them crazy.
Did you return to your former school during that time?
No.
Or did you?
I went to New York.
Okay.
the Dr. Kenneth and Amy Clark, who did the doll study,
Yes.
said I could come live with them.
Wow.
And go to a school where Dr. Clark was on the board, a private progressive school in New York City.
Wow.
And that's where I went.
I'm glad you said that because I've watched I think there's 2 films. I think there's a 50 Years Later Little Rock Nine, and then there's a Little Rock Nine kind of, and they go through it, and they never take, I'm not gonna say never, but I don't remember them saying, I do remember them saying, Miss MinniJean was expelled, but I don't ever see what else happened after that. And I'm glad you said
because
that.
they were really mainly, actually that Little Rock Central High School 50 years later was 2 white Little Rock, I call them white boys, and they exposed that Central was still segregated. Because they saw, they're amazing. I love them. And actually, one of them was the first journalist killed in the Ukraine.
Oh man.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So because they're amazing. They're truth-telling filmmakers, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So that wasn't. Nobody cared about what I did, right? So yes, that's what I did.
Like I was, when I said, well, what happened? Because everyone else just said so-and-so graduated and did this.
One graduated.
And I'm like, so what happened? Yeah.
The school, they closed the schools, the high schools, for the next year, which was a very common, like that happened in Virginia and some other places. So let's just close it. And use state money to form these segregation academies. I mean, we're living with that now. This whole private church, all that. I was talking to a group, and it was kind of in the Rust Belt, so I was trying to get stuff, I wasn't being gentle, but I wanted them to understand some stuff.
Right.
And the whole idea that a governor or the state legislature will close schools. And then we hear people, oh my God, during the pandemic, they missed school. Look, these people intentionally close schools for children, right?
Yes.
So don't tell me about, oh, it's so horrible, the pandemic, because your people have determined that we'll just close schools.
Wow. So not to follow the rules, we're just gonna close schools.
Well, they do their rules.
Right. We'll do it our way.
And it took a Supreme Court decision to open the schools back.
Wow.
It's called Cooper versus Aaron. So last night I did this MSNBC town hall with Joy Reid, Nicole Hannah-Jones, and all that. And I said, when you have this one page of history, you don't even let people to analyze, think, consider. So it's no wonder people are in these silos of misinformation. Because when we just do that, then they can put anything they want in it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They
can
just
tell the story the way they want to tell the story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So which is kind of, so I was telling you in that space, which I think I might do today, is say, okay, so they say you make kids feel guilty by telling these stories. And I say, no, that's not it. That's I tell them, here are the choices of what kind of person you can be. And guess what? They love it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, what people, crazy, and burn all the books. I get emails every day from kids. One of the funniest ones I have is from Denmark, and they had 80 questions, right?
Wow.
So our kids are smarter than their parents.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
And they love that story. Because it's kids.
Yeah. Right. You're right. In the booth with Big B, it's MinniJean. What do you say when folks say, we have to talk to you? Like, we have to talk to you and get your experience, because I know you have shared your experience year after year and day after day. Do you still think it's important that you have to share your experience?
Well, at 81, I feel a real sense of urgency.
Okay.
I've thousands of young people. I teach nonviolence.
Okay.
And I do this story to say, if there's something wrong and you don't like it, you can do something about it. And another, which I'll probably forget tomorrow, kids can make presidents act, because they tried to scare us off with intimidation and death threats in our homes and all kinds of stuff. And theoretically, we should have gone under our beds and said, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
But we went after the guard was removed, and we were to be protected by the city police and the state police, and the mob was going to storm the school. So the police we got in cars, they put us in 2 cars, and they told the drivers, once you start, do not stop. Get them out of here. So even all the police people were white and actually men, and they got us out. But the mob was going to storm the school. They beat up Alex Wilson. It was on television.
Right.
The world saw it. And Eisenhower had to act. But there was we were going back. Y'all can act crazy if you want. We are coming back. And it is actually, maybe if I could possibly, and the stuff comes to me right now, to say to young people, the crazier they act, the better it is, because you know what's going on. And where's that resistance? Oh, you're going to be crazy? I'm going to resist crazy.
Right.
And sometimes we need the truth of the opposition to fill us with inspiration.
Wow. You're totally right. You're totally right.
So that's, 81, oh my God.
I don't believe that.
I gotta talk about this. It's really important because I love the story. It's an amazing story. So it's very complex, and we just put one page and say that's what, and then who is miseducated? Our kids, their kids, everybody.
Right. Everyone. So now, or going forward in adult life, you did a lot of social work.
Well, yeah. I mean, social work, you can do anything as a social worker.
Right.
So, obviously, anti-racism, immigration rights, women's rights, environmental stuff, which I was a rabid environmentalist, still am.
Okay.
I'm a pacifist, because they taught me that mob, the big learning that I got that day was, I will never allow anyone to persuade me to lose my mind like that.
That's a big lesson, Ms. MinniJean.
That's the best lesson.
Yes. 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 What do you say to a child or a student facing any type of opposition and they're nervous about it? They're nervous about going into somewhere different. What do you say to them?
Well, first of all, the U.S. specializes in violence and segregations. And I say segregations because we got 1,000,001 ways that we
could do
otherize everybody. You know,
Correct.
Religion, color, language, class, just every possible thing.
Right.
And that is what, that's the divide and conquer thing.
Okay.
Because if you got a critical mass, you can't be stopped. So I'm going to talk a little bit, because it is Martin Luther King. I reread his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community.
Yes.
And he said, Black people can't do this alone. That we have to build coalitions. Of course, he also puts the responsibility on white people. So he wrote that book when he was maybe 38 years old. He was serious, he was firm, and he was a prophet. Because he told us, if you don't do this,
this is what's going to happen.
he might have been talking about yesterday.
You're right. You're totally right.
So, can we be nervous? Can we afford to be nervous? But I was in a session where Ashley was the principal of Central High School. And she said, well, our students, I love to do the Southern accent, but I'm not going to. I own it too, so.
Right.
Why? Anyway, children like their comfort zones. And I said, what are you talking about? No child ever developed a comfort zone. Comfort zones are imposed on you by other people. They say you should be comfortable with this group, or you shouldn't be comfortable with that group. Kids don't have that.
Right.
There's no such thing as a comfort zone. And she was like taken aback. She kind of thought I was attacking her. I said, no, you just set me up. You sent me the stuff that I could, thank you.
Right.
And there were some students there, and 3 days later, they came in, they said, I never thought about that. You're right. I didn't decide about comfort zones. Somebody else decided that for me.
Wow.
And they were, sorry.
You're fine.
They were absolutely thrilled to find out that they didn't decide, that they could self-determine. They didn't have to believe somebody else's ideas of who they should be with, right?
Right.
And so I say that too. Now the good stuff is happening and I'm coughing.
You fine. They gonna edit everything. You good.
I say that to every color kid. I say that. Don't let other people tell you that you can only be with one group, because you can't do it by yourself.
Right. You're totally right.
And Dr. King kept talking about you have to. He said there are not enough Black people to do it
Yeah.
by themselves.
Yes. So we need the coalitions and the allies.
Absolutely. Got to
Yes.
work on this.
Yes.
And that a lot of the civil rights movement was that. But they would have us sing, it was a black thing and nobody else. No, we can't teach our children that. We're living in a world. We are not living in this, room. We can't live like that. That's an American way of thinking.
Right.
Let's just think about us and not about the world, not about what we bring to each other, the richness.
Yeah.
So you don't go out there by yourself. You go out there with your posse, right?
Right. You need a crew with you.
Yes, you do.
You definitely do.
So that's kind of a thing that I want young people to know. And the other thing I think is people will do an activism, and then I was at a university and students were challenging some policy. And they said, well, I'm graduating in June. And I said, well, did you train other people to do this with you? Did you bring in did you bring in first year students? Did you, so we can't be islands. We have to bring our little acolytes. We have to bring them along.
Yes.
So it's stuff like that. I mean, it's real simple stuff, but I mean, it's
impactful though.
It's kind of hard if we're trying to do something. I'm looking at this center, and I'm saying a lot of hell was raised to make this happen.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And you haven't even been here that long.
I don't have to
know.
be
And you know. Yes, ma'am. You're totally right. You are totally right.
So
I can agree with you.
Can happen.
Right.
And there were no black studies when I was a college student. And there were no ethnic studies or any of that. So somebody had to do it. Somebody had to do that struggle. And so that's it. The other thing I think is seeing activism in lots of different ways as artists. I'm sure you're an activist. I mean, radio personalities in South Africa have been activists in a lot of the movements. So to expand our understanding of what activism is. It's not always marching.
Thank you for saying that.
So how can they know, right?
Right.
Because they're all of us, I call it profound intentional ignorance. All of us are miseducated, right?
Right.
So how can they know? If you only get 2 phrases from Dr. King, I have a dream and content of character. There are, I think, 8 volumes of his papers and speeches at the King Papers. And they're looking at 14 volumes.
Wow.
So out of that, this absolute brilliant philosopher, prophet, we only can use 2 phrases.
Yeah.
So you can tell I'm crazy. Okay.
No, you are resilience walking. I'm glad that you made a little bit of time for little old me.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I said, okay, I'm doing this.
Now we have a couple questions funny questions, because inside of the movement.
I'm open to everything.
Inside the movement, I talk about it all the time. When Dr. King was getting ready to have a speech, sometimes he would bring his fraternity brother, Dick Gregory, along. And Dick Gregory would open up to kind of calm things down.
Dick Gregory went to Southern Illinois University.
Oh, wow.
And he would come to SIU. He was just starting his comedy, and he would do benefits for Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So I knew him when.
Oh, that's okay. I love it. I love it. So we usually ask this question. The very first question is, what was that song or any song that when you hear it, it takes you to one of the funnest times, one of the most happiest times of your life?
You mean rock and roll?
It could be rock and roll.
Oh, okay. Your Precious Love was my jam.
Okay. And the second one is, when we talk about the South, I know for sure you know what grits are.
I'm gonna tell you something. I know what grits are. And I'm not gonna be here in order to have food here, but I'm gonna miss whatever kind of food Wilmington offers.
Okay.
One of my favorite dishes is grits, shrimp and grits.
Okay.
But I also have grits and butter and pepper.
Okay.
And I live in Vancouver, Canada, and I cannot get the grits that I want.
Okay.
So my daughter, who lives in New York City, keeps me supplied with grits.
That was going to be my other question. So, first of all, in the booth, Miss MinniJean says she eats grits. She loves shrimp and grits, butter and pepper on her grits. I just want to let y'all know that.
I don't have sugar. I don't put sugar
Thank
in
you.
it.
That's why
No.
That's what it is. It's in the booth. It's Miss MinniJean Brown-Trickey, Little Rock 9, activist. If resilience was a person walking, we have to respect, and I like to call my elders walking libraries, and that's what Miss MinniJean is.
When this one crashes, it's going to be really a loss, because the reason, especially during the pandemic as well. Well, I mean, first of all, you're involved in this crazy thing and people behaving badly, and like a structured seeking to understand it. And I can tell you that I haven't found the answer. What makes people decide to do some of this stuff? Why there's racism? I mean, I do know it's about power and it's about money and
Right.
it's about, and the anti-Black racism. You know, they built that brick by brick, by brick, by brick, over centuries. So we're gonna, like, the whole thing is to try to unlearn it. So I have a very beautiful garden. So I would buy the Audible of the book when I could, and the book. So I could read the book at night, but I could also work in the garden in the day. And then for scholars, I would look where they're speaking, you know, at universities and stuff. And I filled myself with stuff that is never going to be used. So you're right about the library thing.
Yeah. And I just thank you for taking a little bit of your time and with little me, little chubby guy from Wilmington.
Oh,
I appreciate you.
Well, I looked you up and I said,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Miss MinniJean Brown-Trickey in the booth with Bigg.